One day I was musing through the news offerings on the massively OP website when I glanced over at the background advert running on the site for what I thought was a fairly standard free-to-play sort of lame web-based MMO like the type that usually is advertised there. I usually just ignore them, I don't mind them. Massive's got to get that bag, so sponsorship and advertising is the way to go. But this one sort of caught my eye a little bit more. It was big and bold and bright and very distinctly anime themed. Women with heaving bosoms that are trying valiantly to break the bonds of their tiny clothing and burst forth into your face. Men with crazed looks on their faces and scars all over their body, swinging swords bigger than themselves. It was attention-grabbing to say the least. I was admittedly still dubious, but being that there is a paucity of MMORPGs out there, and owing to whatever form of ADHD I have, I am compelled to try them all. So I went off to the internet to have a little research. Firstly, I wanted to know whether this was a new IP or an established IP. It turns out that it is a new one, as far as I can find out anyway, so put a pin in that fact for later. I went to the crystalofatlan website, which looked okay, nicely put together, but as I am generally suspicious of anything that exists on the web, I did another search for, is crystalofatlan safe to download? I know, I am a skilled crafter of search prompts. I essentially subscribe to the theory that the internet is filled with feckless morons who don't understand how the internet works, so rather than using well put together wildcard searches for certain terms, if I just search for things like an idiot or an elderly grandma, I will probably find what I need through other people having searched for something similar previously. And it usually works. The crystalofatlan website seemed to want me to download an executable or launcher, which isn't in itself that strange, but warrants a bit of a check. But during that check, I found out that it was on the Epic Store, so that meant it was probably fine. Epic wouldn't do me harm, would they? So I hit download, and I was interested to give this a go. I wasn't holding out for total greatness. I already knew that this was also a mobile game, so expectations were firmly set accordingly, but once it installed, I fired it up and I was ready to give it a fair shot. Now, let's just explain the basics of what it is, and then I will get into my experience more specifically. Crystalofatlan is an action combat instance dungeon based MMO. You can play solo or go into dungeons in groups, but there is no overworld to roam, so to speak. So MMORPG lite maybe. But it is fair to say that the core part of the game, that being smashing shit up with your big sword, or your shooty gun or whatever method of smash you employ, is actually pretty good fun. It might not be the most complex or super deep system you have ever encountered, but you know what? Sometimes a bit of simplicity is nice. Why does everything have to be so deep all the time? Your moves are pretty big and bombastic, and you can upgrade them and then set them up so that performing one move will then allow you to combo it with a follow-up move. I genuinely don't have any beef with the combat, but there are beefs, and the beefs came thick and fast. This game was speedrunning beefs at what turned out to be an impressive pace. Now, I will also declare here that it became very apparent to me early on that this type of game is clearly not aimed at me. Well, not entirely. It did attract me with promise of a sort of MMORPG experience, but that is where it ends. I'm not a massive fan of the whole classic anime style either. So, if you like this game, or these type of games, or the elements of gameplay that exist within them, then you are totally entitled to play and enjoy whatever you want, and you should never let my words stop you. But by speaking freely and truthfully about this game and my opinion of it, if you do like these types of games, you may probably be offended, and while that isn't my sole intention, it is probably going to be unavoidable. So I apologise for that up front. But remember, I am just some dickhead on the internet, so don't get too bent out of shape over it. But perhaps you could at least consider my arguments before going to the comments and starting to complain about you didn't play it for long enough or anything. I have given this video the title of Insidious and Confusing, which has probably set up the general tone of my thoughts, but let's just start unpacking beefs, shall we? Firstly, the story is pretty boring. To be fair, I have said it before, but I am not particularly story driven as a person. It takes something special to hook me into a video game story, and this is not special. It is just your, as far as I can tell, standard anime bullshit. This is subjective, I know, but I think the thing that pissed me off so much about it is that you get a little taste of combat early on, and then it just assaults me with fucking text box after text box, delaying my ability to get back into the best of what this game has to offer. Very early on, I realised I didn't give a single fuck about the story, and just kept skipping it entirely because the game had set my expectations for action, not a story-based game. So action was what I wanted to get back to. Put another pin in that for later. I am aware that the game does have to do a certain amount of setup towards the beginning, but this part personally isn't for me. Finally, I got back into a dungeon and another opportunity to start smashing things, and do you know what? Despite the fact that I am not massively drawn to anime, the game looks really nice, no gripes there. But then something else confused me a bit. Either I had skipped past some vital information, or maybe it didn't tell me anything, which would be in keeping with how I think this game operates, but we'll get to that. Anyway, I enter the dungeon and gleefully skip into a room of enemies, flatten everyone in a blink of an eye, and I'm feeling good when immediately I am faced with a sort of checkpoint which asks me if I want to continue to the next area or leave the dungeon. So two thoughts here. One, why the fuck would I want to leave the dungeon I just entered? And two, I had waded through so many text boxes that I had just hurriedly blew past it because I want to play your cunting game. Stop stopping me from playing your game. Get your pin out for that last bit because that will come up later as well. So I continue to play through the game, blasting through dungeons and enjoying myself, and then running between different NPCs and getting angry and angry at the amount of text boxes and waffly bullshit that was holding me back from playing the goddamn game. I was merrily upgrading skills and adding new ones to my hotbar and generally oscillating between enjoyment and irritation. Didn't I already help you in Final Fantasy XIV? But it wasn't long before the next bit of fuckery happened, because one thing you should know about Crystal of Atlan is that they are trying to speedrun every dark pattern and predatory tactic possible in record time. The tutorial indicates to me that I should go to a menu and upgrade my weapon. My eyebrow raises and my stupid bullshit detector goes off silently within my brain. I am just sitting there piling resources into upgrading my gear because whether I am enjoying this game or not, I already know that I am a tourist here. This will not be a long-running thing for me. So I don't care about hoarding a resource for something later, I'll just spend it now. So I am mindlessly smashing the upgrade button when I look up and realise that I am being told that my upgrade keeps failing. Curious, I think. What the fuck is going on? Then I look down a little and I see that I have a percentage chance of my upgrade success. And every time I succeed, that chance reduces. Hello. It's been a while since I have seen you. When did we last meet? Lost Ark? Oh, and would you look at that? You need currency and resources in order to upgrade. Not particularly out of the ordinary there, but put another pin in that. Have you got enough pins? Because we're not done yet, just to let you know. In addition to this, you can attach items to your upgrade to raise the chance of your upgrade succeeding. Also, either before or after this point, I can't really remember, I had already been introduced to the cash shop, which I obviously just blew past because I know your fucking game, Crystal of Atlan, and I am not playing it. I mean, I sort of am because I am literally playing, but you know what I mean. I just hit next until it went away. I'm not against cash shops in game. Well, I am, but what I mean is, they're here now and I can't do anything about them, and so there are varying degrees of scumminess that I will tolerate, and sometimes even I have bought things from them. So this behaviour from crystalofatlan is sort of par for the course and the least shit thing that the game has done so far. Just standard bullshit. But this is a free game, so there has to be a way to make money, and things like cosmetics, supporters packs and convenience items are how they should do it, although I would say that I am most comfortable with cosmetics, but whatever. Conversation for another time. But the choice to make this a free game is a choice in itself. Put another pin in it. So by this point, I am already so suspicious and cynical about everything in this game, but I carry on. The cycle continues as it did before, brief moments of fun in dungeons and then boring, pointless story in between. But some of the dungeons did start to get enjoyable, and one fight in particular started to approach something like a challenge. Not much, but just a sign that it might start getting a bit more interesting on that front. At this point, I stopped recording and decided I would just play the game for a bit. But it wasn't long before something caught my eye, and I thought I should turn the recording back on as I sensed that I was approaching the end of this ride. Up in the top left corner, I saw a counter for energy. My mind started to click into gear and I entered a dungeon to confirm my suspicions, and when I got to one of those dungeon checkpoints I mentioned earlier, those suspicions were confirmed. Running dungeons costs energy. Now I don't remember the game telling me this explicitly, but there it is. The final straw has revealed itself right before settling upon my back. Maybe it did tell me. I don't care to find out. But what I will say is that so much of this game's tutorial literally won't let you progress until you press the highlighted button it wants you to press. So when this game wants to, it will and can make it very, very clear. Curious that this energy thing wasn't made as clear as other actions in the game. But I will concede that this could be a me thing, and I wasn't paying attention. But that being said, does not change how completely shit it is. Seriously, game? You are gating my progress and ability to play the game behind a fucking stamina system. Fuck right off. So let's review the cavalcade of insidious bullshit and then we'll move on to the confusing part. Time-gated stamina system, cash shop that will allow you to buy currency to continue playing, upgrade system that uses resources and gives you a percentage chance of succeeding an upgrade, all of which you can buy things from the cash shop which will allow you to continue or succeed. I think the thing that is most insidious about this is the sheer fucking speed it drives you into these things. Candy Crush will at least let you play for quite a while before it starts stopping your progress until the next day, tempting you to go in the shop to buy more energy. I played this game for about 4 hours in total, and I first played a different character up to level 13 or something before trying the sword guy. So it was more like 2.5 hours for the game to reveal itself, which to me seems absolutely insane. So just to be clear, we are in the confusing part now. Surely you are supposed to make me play for 10, maybe 20 hours to really bed in my addiction so that when I do hit that stamina wall, I am well and truly enfranchised and I will have the urge to spend money to continue to get my fix. Not fucking 2 hours. It's why I wondered if this was an existing anime franchise that I didn't know, and perhaps they were relying on an existing fandom to drive people on and cement FOMO, but apparently not. Which is baffling to me, that you seemingly believe in your mediocre, bland and decidedly tropey IP so much that you think you can start dropping microtransaction bullshit on people in the first 2 hours. Why should anyone care at that point? So I read around the internet and went in some comment sections on people's YouTube reviews, and I am aware that you could use alt characters to grind up currency and stuff to power your energy for playing the game. But you expect anyone to become entrenched in a fucking utility grind on a daily basis using alt characters just to keep playing your game that really doesn't offer that much in return. It's not like the game even offers a robust dress-up simulator aspect, with minor cosmetics and customizations available. Fucking baffling. At least with Lost Ark, where they also employ what I will call an insidious upgrade system, you don't encounter that until very late in the game, when, if I am giving them props for being devious, you should be well and truly gripped by the sunk cost fallacy vibes by then. Again, 2 fucking hours. The fucking hubris. And while we're doing Lost Ark comparisons, it also does that thing of just assailing you with a million little menu tabs with red dots on them where you need to click this and claim that. It feels like it is deliberately trying to make you feel like you are being showered in gifts and stuff. Now, many of these things are, unfortunately, as I have said before, par for the course, and I think there are 2 things that really confuse me. The first thing is what I have already been talking about, that they felt they could do all of this stuff without seemingly really offering you much of a game in return in such a short amount of time. And the second part is that when I was searching around the net was the amount of people I saw supporting and defending this shit. Now come on, even if you have bought into this game, you must see that this shit is incredibly sleazy. I understand that I am an anti-capitalist socialist scumbag and therefore by default hate this stupid shit, but don't you just feel like, well, I don't like necessarily using the right's idiotic language, but there might not actually be a better way of expressing this, but don't you just feel like such cucks to be defending a game and a practice that is clearly just abusing you and trying to relieve you of your money? Or force you into fucking servitude to grind for energy in the crystal of Atlan energy mines. I seriously do not understand why anyone would defend this. Play the game begrudgingly because you enjoy parts of it, sure. I can see that there is at least something there, but to actually defend these practices, might as well just keep your mouth fucking shut. And anyone that might come along and say you haven't played it for whatever stupidly long amount of time you expect me or someone else to put into a game in order to qualify for your demented standards to be able to have some sort of valid opinion about it, how long exactly should I let crystalofatlan shit and piss in my face before I pick up my dignity off the floor and leave? 2 hours? Come on. I also saw a person fighting the not so good fight in someone's comment section that's saying that stamina systems are quite normal for Eastern MMOs actually, and they exist in order to put a block on people's playtime for health reasons and are required by law in some countries. Well, I'm sorry, but if they were so worried about people not abusing the game and playing for too long, why are they selling energy that you can buy and keep playing? This is genuinely the most confusing part for me. That anyone thinks this is okay in any way. Maybe if you are playing on mobile and you have so little options for something that resembles an MMORPG, I can understand a tiny bit. But don't you have any self-respect? And I am not even asking or expecting you to have complete 100% purity. I play MMORPGs and no matter what game it is, there are some level of dark patterns going on. Even in WoW or other subscription-based MMORPGs, but this is a whole other level. I have seen some people trying to reference things like time-gated fractals in games like Guild Wars 2, which I think is quite frankly just a certain level of weird cope, because yeah, maybe they do time-gate some elements of the game, but what about all the rest of the fucking game? The rest of the game that I can play as much as I want? Even if a small portion is time-gated, it is not the game itself. I find this argument to be fucking weak. Maybe Guild Wars 2 shouldn't time-gate fractals either, but to try and draw equivalence with a game that offers you barely anything in return is crazy. Also, if we are comparing the 2 games, how long am I as a new player going to play Guild Wars 2 before I get to the point where I start doing fractals, huh? Fucking ages, that's how long. Motherfuckers smugly proclaiming that you can get so much energy if you do this or that. Why should I do this or that? Why should anyone? I mean, we're all guilty of brain rot, but seriously, what I am learning is that gacha games are essentially the modern day gaming equivalent of that game in Star Trek Generations that enslaved everyone on the Enterprise and turned them all into addictive, mindless morons.
Let's lay in the bed in my quarters and pretend we're fucking our own brains.
Except this Chad, of course.
Shut up, Wesley.
Look, I am coming into this as someone who isn't a regular player of these games, so therefore I am what I would consider a good yardstick of someone, a new player, who hasn't been entrenched in the type of tactics these games employ. So as a blank slate, I feel like I see what is going on here much clearer than perhaps someone who has prior experience and might hand wave away some of the more bullshit elements because they have grown accustomed to them. This is not a good way to entice new, fresh players to your game, which then makes it feel even more insidious because that feels like they are deliberately aiming it at you. You are the mark because they know you will accept this stupid shit. Clearly, while I wasn't paying full attention, this type of behaviour has become even more normalised, especially for gacha games. So maybe I am showing my age and ignorance, but there is still absolutely no justification for so much wacky and deceitful bullshit. You may wail and cry and tell me how they have to make money, etc., but not like this. They don't have to be this greedy. Does Fortnite timegate your play? Sure, they are very greedy, and sure, they do have infinite cash behind them, but still. And the maddening thing to me is that if you took this game, stripped it of all the online parts, all the predatory bullshit and crap story, and just made an action fighting game and sold it for a box price, perhaps this could be something good. But this is just like everything else in this disgusting and insulting capitalist world, where greed literally gives people brain damage, and all the publishers and the money movers can think of is how much they can fleece from people and how goddamn hard their boner is when they're doing it. Once again, unfettered greedy capitalism ruins everything. By all means, tell me in the comments why you like it, or rather, by all means, make an argument why you think anything I have said is wrong or why it is justified. Or insult me if you want. It is all engagement either way, but I would prefer constructive feedback. And I will apologise if you feel insulted by anything I have said. I know I've been a bit passionate with my words, if you will, but I would just invite anyone to think about what I have said honestly and think about what games like this offer and what they expect from you. Crystalofatlan, mediocre trash that greedily reached too far, too quick. Just play something else. Thanks for watching. This was just a little quick one about my experience, but I had thoughts so I had to get them out. Stand by for another ranty video to follow soon about Final Fantasy XIV, Realm Reborn, and hopefully I will catch you on the next one.